It is not happening at this point. I tried to talk to her at the Final Four.
Right.
She didn't want to talk to me. My life's going to be good.
What I want to clear up is that for whatever reason, there's this narrative that I hate Caitlin Clark.
But we had this conversation, which we apparently cannot have with me and Sheryl Swoops.
Caitlin Clark for Indiana, who has been terrific, the #1 overall pick, who has been packing buildings all across the U.S.
To your point, I think she created this firestorm.
You know what's crazy? Sheryl Swoops, one of the greatest to ever play women's basketball, just got fired from a broadcasting gig. And it's all because of some lies she told about Caitlin Clark. But that's not even the craziest part. This whole mess ended up costing Swoops a friendship with another legend, Nancy Lieberman. How did it all go so wrong? Let's talk about Sheryl Swoops for a second. This woman was like the Michael Jordan of women's basketball. She's got Olympic gold medals, WNBA championships, you name it, she's done it. Swoops was on top of the world, a true legend of the game. But imagine this. One day, Swoops starts talking trash about Caitlin Clark, the new star that everyone's buzzing about. And we're not just talking a little smack here. Swoops straight up lied about Clark's stats and records. That's insane, right? Why would a legend need to make stuff up about a rookie? You know what's even crazier? This whole thing didn't just cost Swoops her job. It ended up destroying her friendship with Nancy Lieberman, another basketball icon. How did one of the greatest players ever fall so far, so fast? Let's break it down. Before we continue, I'd like to ask for a quick favor. If you're enjoying this content, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of our viewers watch without subscribing, and while it's free for you, it makes a world of difference to us. Have you hit that subscribe button? Awesome. Thank you so much for your support. Now, let's get back to the video. The fall from grace began with a single interview. Swoops, a basketball legend, decided to take aim at the new star on the block. But why would she need to make things up about Caitlin Clark? The truth behind her claims is more shocking than you might think. Let's break down what Swoops actually said about Clark. It's wild. She called Clark's records illegitimate and claimed she was a 50-year senior taking 40 shots a game. That's not just a little criticism, that's straight up fabrication. Now, here's where it gets crazy. Clark was actually 22 years old during her final season at Iowa. And those 40 shots a game, not even close. Swoops wasn't just off by a little, she was way off base. You've got to wonder, right? Why would a legend like Swoops need to lie about a rookie? It's not like Clark was threatening Swoops' legacy or anything. This whole thing just doesn't make sense. The moment Swoops made these claims, the basketball world exploded. Fans and media alike were calling her out left and right. People couldn't believe what they were hearing. A respected figure in women's basketball spreading straight-up lies about a rising star. It was unreal. Imagine being Caitlin Clark for a second. You're having an incredible season, breaking records, and suddenly one of the greatest players ever starts trashing you with made-up stats. That's got to mess with your head, right? But here's the thing. Clark didn't even need to defend herself. The stats spoke for themselves. Everyone could see that Swoops was way off base. It was like watching a train wreck in slow motion. This wasn't just a little mistake or a slip of the tongue. Swoops doubled down on her claims. She had plenty of chances to correct herself, but she didn't. And that's when things really started to unravel for her. You know what's wild? This whole controversy started back in March. That means Swoops had months to set the record straight. But instead of admitting she was wrong, she let this thing snowball. Her reputation in the basketball community took a nosedive. As Swoops' reputation crumbled, an unexpected player entered the game. Nancy Lieberman, a legend in her own right, suddenly found herself caught between loyalty and integrity. What made her risk a decades-long friendship? Enter Nancy Lieberman, another basketball icon and longtime friend of Sheryl Swoops. These two women have known each other for years, battling on the court and supporting each other off it. But now, Lieberman was faced with a tough choice: stand by her friend or stand up for the truth. Lieberman tried to help Swoops. She reached out, urging her to correct the stats she'd thrown out about Caitlin Clark. Lieberman knew how important accuracy is in broadcasting. She kept emphasizing to Swoops that facts matter. It's crazy to think about, right? A legend having to remind another legend about something so basic. But here's where things get wild. Swoops didn't take Lieberman's advice. Instead of admitting she made a mistake, Swoops got upset during their conversation. Can you imagine that? Your friend is trying to help you save face, and you get mad at them? Lieberman didn't give up, though. She kept trying to give Swoops chances to make things right. But every time, Swoops refused to acknowledge her mistakes. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion, and you can't do anything to stop it. You know what's really heartbreaking about all this? Lieberman had to come out publicly and call Swoops out. She didn't want to do it, but Swoops left her no choice. Lieberman ended up saying, "Our relationship pretty much is not happening at this point." That's huge. A friendship that lasted for decades, destroyed over some lies about stats. Lieberman didn't stop there, though. She started talking about how important it is for legends like Swoops to support rising stars in women's basketball. She said, if you have a legend who's coming at a young player on the rise, it's not a good look. And she's right, isn't she? The game is supposed to be about lifting each other up, not tearing new talent down. This whole situation shows how real the consequences of Swoops' actions were. It wasn't just about losing a job or facing some backlash online. Swoops lost a true friend, someone who had been in her corner for years. And for what? Some made-up stats about a rookie? Lieberman tried to explain how personal feelings shouldn't get in the way of being a professional commentator. She said, "When you see your personal feelings, infiltrating the proceedings and compromising your position as a professional." It's like she was giving Swoops one last lesson, even after everything that happened. Speaking of compromising your position as a professional, Swoops was about to learn that lesson the hard way. Remember when we talked about consequences? Well, they were just getting started. How bad could it get for a legend like Swoops? Turns out, pretty bad. Stephen A. Smith dropped a bombshell report. Swoops got kicked off a broadcast for an Indiana Fever game. Why? Because people didn't trust her to be fair when it came to Caitlin Clark. That's wild, right? A legend like Swoops, seen as too biased to even call a game. But here's the kicker. This wasn't just about Swoops' comments. It was about her actions too. See, Clark had just dropped a career-high 31 points in a game. And where was Swoops? Nowhere to be found. It's like she couldn't handle seeing the new star shine. Now, imagine you're a TV producer. You've got a commentator who's been trashing a rising star with made-up stats, and now that same star is crushing it on the court. Your commentator goes, M.A. What would you do? Yeah, you'd probably show them the door, too. This whole mess goes way beyond just one game, though. Think about it. Swoops is supposed to be an ambassador for women's basketball. She's a legend, someone young players look up to. But instead of lifting up new talent, she's tearing it down. That's not a good look for anyone, let alone someone of Swoops' status. You know what's really crazy? This could have all been avoided if Swoops had just admitted she was wrong from the start. But nope, she doubled down. And now, her credibility as a commentator is shot. Fans are questioning everything she says. Media outlets are hesitant to work with her. It's like watching a career implode in real time. Eventually, Swoops did apologize to Clark, but by then, the damage was done. Her reputation, her job, her friendships, all of it took a massive hit. And for what? Some lies about a rookie's stats? This whole situation is a mess, isn't it? A legend of the game brought down by her own words and actions. It's like watching a car crash in slow motion. You want to look away, but you can't. And the worst part? It didn't have to be this way.